starting in the kitchen. And this is one I bought from an auction in Hobart. I'm not sure who the artist is. I might say I just can't even remember. And yeah, it's in the kitchen, so it's going to get filthy, but it's just not the greatest painting. It's okay. It's just, it's not really finely done, that's all, but it's okay. And this is a really wonderful photograph that I pulled out of an old military book from the 30s. Pretty cringy book. Australian military books from that era are just fucking horrible, but what a cool photo. There's a biplane, probably 1920s or 30s biplanes over the Great Pyramid. Now, do we want to film any of that? Probably not. And we got one more photo up here of more planes over the pyramids. Slightly more modern planes. They were probably state of the art in the 30s, I reckon. My grandfather actually trained in biplanes, getting ready to go to World War II, but the war finished just before he was about to get involved. So they were training in biplanes in, I guess, the 1940s in Tasmania. So next we have a little, it's almost like a Chinese tourist piece, but it's actually a recognised artist as Alfred Tom. I think it might be Saunders. I looked it up years ago. Very tiny, that's my hand. But really, really, really well done. And his paintings are fairly inexpensive, considering how good they are. But, a little kitsch, the whole barge to the sunset thing, but, it is a nice piece. Let's move this glass out of the way. So I've got to avoid getting my signature on the fucking shot. Okay, so this is one that I did. It's a sand shark, or something like that. They feel like sandpaper if you pat them. Now this was washed up, dead. I took a photo, and painted it from a photo. It took me 9 hours. Very hard to match the green. It's like the green on US banknotes. Very, very, very hard to match that colour. And I just splodge all the paint on and do all the rocks, and it actually came out very, very well relative to the photo. I'm quite happy with it. But, yeah, very, very slow. This one's by Chunky Mark, the artist taxi driver. He's a political commentator on X, or formerly known as Twitter, and YouTube. And he sells his stuff on Etsy. And he's got some amazing pieces, often with animals. This piece I call the opiate of the masses. Not to relegate it to a cartoon or anything, but it's a church in Hobart. I think it's actually on Church Street in North Hobart, and it actually means a lot to me. My grandmother used to go to this church, and my nephew was baptised there. It's the only time I've been inside it. I'm not sure when it was made, but down the other end to what you're looking at, there are all these stained glass windows of World War One. And it's quite, sort of like very innocent looking, soldiers and that. It's quite moving. But I guess that was a big tragedy back in the day, and, being a spiritual place, that's sort of how they marked it. And why opiate of the masses? Because by sheer accident, I took this at night, so it's a bit like, actually, it's not that much brighter than it was in real life, but I didn't notice the shoes hanging over the power line at the top left there. That white thing is not cloud, it's a pair of sneakers. And that's code for a drug dealer. If you see that in front of someone's house, they're a drug dealer. And of course, the opiate of masses. Was that Marx? I forget. By the way, that quote is actually part of a much longer passage, which is definitely not insulting of anybody's religion. It's worth reading the whole thing if you have the time. So took that on the 15mm f1.7 Panasonic Leica lens on GH5, and the blue, it all kind of faithfully matched what I was seeing in real life. And I really love walking around this area at night. A few times when I lived miles away, I would walk to this place. It probably took me must have taken 2 hours to walk here and then walk back. And I just the atmosphere is incredible at night. Really, really love that area. Alright. That church, the sandstone's all falling apart, so it's the original congregation's moved on. There's still someone's using it, so, yeah, despite the alleged risk. Anyway, this is a little lake watercolor. Reminds me of a lake I saw in America that was created by beavers. All the trees were drowning, but this is a Tasmanian lake, I suspect. Looks like somewhere around Lake Echo, just the hills and that there, in the Midlands. So yeah, I don't know. Just doesn't mean that much to me. It's quite well done, but yeah, kind of boring. This is a photo that was in the house. This would have been my great-grandfather's, or even his parents' maybe photo. And this is Hobart, the Hobart Docks, place I remember well from my childhood. And yeah, he would have had a fishing boat, something like this. And doesn't do much for me, but yeah, anyway. This I picked up here. Sorry, not here. I picked up this one living in New York at a flea market. Someone's taken it out of a book, and it was like 50 cents. And I like pyramids, whether they're American or Egyptian. And there's another one that I bought from the same guy. He just had a whole bunch of stuff in a folder. And there's like something burning on top of the pyramid. Not sure what that was about. This photograph is from a scene in a movie, The Great Train Robbery. I'm just toxing myself there. And it's sort of like a revolver with smoke sort of wisping up, and I really like this photo. And I bought this in 2005 roughly at a gloomy old tip shop. It was a great big shed and very dark, very, very dark inside, and very long, and at the back it was all very unorganised, and it was just a bunch of these in a couple of folders. People with cowboy hats on from different movies and stuff. It was all kind of cool. And I bought this and two other photos. So yeah, it's just like being photocopied on A4 paper, but I think the effect is quite good. That's a little Russian thing that my mother bought me because she knows I like Russia. Yeah, just a sleigh and the horses. The little onion top church in the background. I'm trying to make sure my name is on there. So this is one that I did use. It's not very good, but I didn't know where to fucking put it, so I just put it up here because it was colourful. And yeah, I was trying to like get the whole sort of Francis Bacon like room and walls, but it's all a bit out of proportion. I mean, it's kind of meant to be out of proportion vertically, but it's just a bit empty. Bad paintings are often a bit empty. This is another chunky mark. I think it says The Expelled under the pigeon. Very beautiful colours. Alright, now I'm going to have to... Now, this is reduced to a comment on consumerism, but that's a painting that was owned by David Hancock, who basically wrote the Bible and Marine Salvage, and it's, I think, the HMAS Sydney getting shelled in World War II. It's not a bad painting. I think there's one or two too many shells exploding in the water. You know, less would have been more. This was on display in the Geelong Maritime Museum for a while. I got it really cheap at an auction in Melbourne that was selling his whole estate. Yeah, sorry about that. 80s frame with the linen filleting. And yeah, guys, you tell me what you think of that painting. I'm interested to hear your thoughts. Okay, so just a few more over here. Tiptoe through the contraband. Alright. This is another one that I did. Now this was a copy of a painting in a book in black and white, so I had to invent the colours. And I wanted to learn how to do like seascapes or ship portraits. So I think I've recently discovered who the artist was, because I lost the book, unfortunately. I found some painting. I was actually at an auction of some prints of a similar style. And I just forget the guy's name, but I did save the photo on my computer. And he was Australian, very prolific, and his works come up every now and then. I think he's quite an underrated artist. This one came out okay, I thought. I meant to do ropes between the mast and a little ladder on the back end of the smokestack, but I had to move house. I just ran out of time and never got around to finishing it. This is a World War II blackout poster from Germany. Just a good work of art, you know. Obviously a little bit politically incorrect, but you know, there's no like political party stuff on there. It's just an incredible sort of juxtaposition of everything there, with the planes in the background and the skull and the bomb, and quite pertinent to what society sort of devolved to today. This one reminded me of David Frost, who was a Tasmanian artist, but it's not a David Frost. If it was a David Frost, it would probably be more colourful and even more abstract, and maybe a bit better balanced, but it is signed. Not sure who painted it. PG Gun or something like that. And yeah, who knows, maybe it's one I'll get rid of. This one I bought sometime around 2002 when I was a uni student, undergrad, from a tip shop. I always liked, you know, old things, and it's pretty old. I reckon this is from the 1800s, so it could be by a fairly famous artist. It's very, very well done. It's probably the Meander Valley, because the colours just match that area perfectly in Tasmania. So everything about it screams Meander Valley. It's really well done. I just don't know quite who did it, unfortunately. But one day, maybe get an expert to look at it. And that's an Art Deco door in hardwood, Tasmanian oak. Alright guys, I'll leave it there. Thanks for watching.